Hello, I would like to inform you that what you're about to listen to are our views and comments from the host and guests that only reflect their own view and not the community's as a whole. You're also committing to hire us at some point in the future, whether or not you want to or you like our work. I hope you enjoy the podcast. And Eddie, play the banter section.
All right, so my last podcast I recorded, I got very called out with like looking at my other laptop whilst doing other things. Like they said I wasn't listening. I was multitasking, bitch.
Are you sure you weren't just having a wank?
The important questions are coming at me.
I can neither confirm nor deny. No, I deny. Oh wait, that's
it's too late now. It's too late.
I was going to say that sounds make me even more guilty, doesn't it?
I'll tell you something though.
Well, God,
my boyfriend is so naughty at making like dirty jokes because he knows it winds me up, and I'm obsessed with food. I am nuts about food. So I'm sitting on my Instagram and he'll come along and he'll see me looking at a picture of one of your foods, like as I'm scrolling, and he'll be like, "Oh, well, you're getting wet over there," and I'm just like, "Fuck off!" Like, I look at it and I'm like, "That looks so good." But he makes that joke every fucking time, and then he's like, "It's Eddie again," and I'm like, "Yeah." Even he's envious of like the amount of stuff you eat, and he's just like, he's living your dream. And I'm like,
whoa. Okay. Just it's not always me eating all the food. My sister sent me photos as well, and she said it's fine for me to share. She goes, "All right, yeah," but yeah, most of it is actually me. So
yeah, it's great.
I do always want to eat the food that you post.
Sorry, pardon. Oh, the food, right? Okay, just tell me.
I do always want to eat Eddie every time he posts. Like, oh.
Hello everybody, this is the Egg Talk About Podcast, a weekly podcast talking about cosplay, Comic-Con and everything else. I'm your host Eddie, and this week we are talking about why do I con crunch? Is it something that we all do? Is it something we should avoid? Is it something that is good for our health maybe? I don't know, because I don't know, I'm not a cosplayer, but I've got two guests joining us on the podcast who are cosplayers who will talk about it with me. They are Ingrid of Bitten and Smitten Cosplay and Lele from Lele Cosplays. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
Welcome to you both. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you had a good time, a good week so far. Let me do my my usual catch up with people. Ingrid, how are you? How's the last 7 days for you?
Who was that to? Sorry, I coughed and couldn't.
Well, ironically, it was you, Ingrid.
I was worried because I was like, "Is a pause? I'm gonna check." And before I'm like, "Hi, it's me." Yeah, no, I've been all right. I'm all right. I'm just a bit nervous. I've got an exam at the end of the week, but I'm pushing along and along.
You got this.
I'm making stuff because I've got a new distraction now. I'm trying to make a shop selling ears and collars and stuff, and like really cute Neko stuff.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
We'll see how long I stick with that before I get bored and go to some other hobby without fulfilling the one I've just started.
Don't take this the wrong way, Ingrid, but do you have ADHD?
Yes. Yes.
I meant that as a joke as well. I'm so sorry. Oh my god.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, I only found out recently, like within the last year and a half, and now I'm like, everything makes sense. And there's like a smidgen of autism as well, but I haven't had the test for that because it's pricey. Right. It's very pricey, and I'm pretty much past education, so they said not to bother. But it explains a lot. It explains why. I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast about how every non-school uniform I went to, I went dressed as a fly or a princess. I never went in clothes. I just went dressed up.
That is amazing. That's actually amazing.
Yeah, it just makes sense now. It's like glaringly obvious. It's nuts.
I feel very bad that I've called you out like this. I'm just going to move it along very quickly.
It's funny. It's fine.
Hey, Lele, how are you? How was your last 7 days? Please tell me you don't have ADHD so we can just move along.
I don't have ADHD. Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
Oh, good. Not that it's not good to have. Oh, shit. Shut up.
It's fine. I have a myriad of other issues, but ADHD isn't one of them.
Good. Yay.
Last week has been pretty good. I did a little shoot with my friend, cosplay shoot on the weekend. Just in my living room with just a plain backdrop. But, yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm just saying I wasn't invited to that. That's what I want to say. You know.
Sorry. I mean, if you wanna, drive all the way to like Bristol.
I got a friend in Bristol, so I could actually.
Yeah,
I mean, well, do it then. Dare you?
It's a well nice place.
Next question. No, I bet also no. It's a nice place. I like the shopping mall. We tend to go to Miller and Carter.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say Miller and Carter.
Oh, I love Miller and Carter.
Oh, the steak there is. Oh, yeah, always get the ribeye steak. So I'm gonna go veer off the beaten path for a little bit. So, so there's a story about Miller and Carter with me and my friend. So I always I've only been there twice, but the first time I was there, I ordered this the ribeye, and it only came in I think 12 and 16 ounces, and I went, I really want the ribeye, but I can't afford the 16, so I'll go for the 12. So the waitress comes and she goes, "Oh, what would you like?" I said, "Oh, can I have the ribeye, please? How would you like that cooked?" And my usual joke is on the plate, in the cook. Oh no, the joke goes how? How would you like it? How would you like your steak? And I said cooked. That's the joke. I know I really ruined that joke badly, but then obviously when she asked how would you like it cooked, I said, "Oh, can I have it medium rare, please?" And then she comes back like about 2 minutes later. She says, "We've just spoken to the chef. He recommends that you order it medium." I went, "Oh, okay. Why?" Says, "I'm going to be honest with you. We don't have any 12 ounces left, so we're going to give you the 16 at the same price as a 12." I went, "Hell yeah, boys!"
You get all the best food, and then when you even try and be like responsible adult, I will not spend out on the steak. You get given it.
Yeah,
nice.
You are so lucky.
I know.
Steak. Oh my god, I would cry. Last time I was in Miller and Carter, I did cry because the food was so good.
Oh god.
Literally was sitting there. I didn't even drink, and George was like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "Because the food's so good." Because gotta be honest, it's one of those places that yes, it's expensive, but every item is so good. The service is impeccable, and it's just like this is worth the money. And it's so rare that you eat stuff. Well, maybe not for you because you always get the best food. But
shut up! I don't always have the best. You know what I was going to say is the mac and cheese there was just anyway. Let's not talk about the food. Let's talk about let's move away from a little bit.
Food podcast.
Don't because I'd probably get hungry again. Oh jeez, right. So what we're talking about con crunching. That's it, because it's been on my mind for a few months now, maybe a few years now, and I kind of don't get it in a sense because I'm not a cosplayer, and I always tell cosplayers, I say, look, don't worry about getting your cosplays done for me when we do if I do scheduled shoots and all that. I tend to just go, look, just wherever you want, I can probably make something on the fly. But cosplayers seem to be really determined to get their cosplays done, but they don't. They leave it to the last minute. I'm going, why do they do that? So I've got these two guests. They said they want to talk about it, so I don't know if they actually con crunch or they enjoy it or they don't. But we'll cross that bridge in a minute. So I'll start with Lele first.
Hello.
So, in your mind, in your mind's eye, what is con crunching to you? What does it mean?
Okay, so con crunching is where, kind of like what you said, you leave your cosplay making, etc., and getting things together and everything until basically the last minute before a convention or whatever, before you need it. Whether it could be a convention you're doing, it could be a photo shoot you're doing, whatever, but whatever it is you're doing, you leave getting it all sorted until the last minute, and you are literally, up those last few days, trying to frantically sort everything out, and you're not sure if you're actually going to even be able to pull it together. You're starting to question everything and be like, oh my god, am I even going to do this? We've all been there. We've all done it at some point. Personally, I have done it before. I'm not a fan. And now, as a seasoned cosplayer, that's my way of saying I'm old. But I've been there and I've done that, and I try and avoid it now where I can. That's just me. Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fine. That's not a problem. Ingrid, what about you? Do you share what Lele says, or is there something else that you want to add to it?
No, it's pretty spot on. It's just it's not necessarily planned that you leave it to last minute, but it just kind of happens.
It just kind of
You get
happens,
distracted,
really, though.
innit? And it's like, in the end, the con or shoot or whatever is there, and you're like, oh god, I've I don't want to be stood in like a potato sack. I've got to get my costume made, and so you like by hook or by crook you get it done. So it could be a unforeseen con crunch because sometimes it's out of good intentions, but it just happens.
Like sometimes, I don't know if people sometimes you just don't realize how soon something is. Or it's whenever there's an event coming up, it's sort of like, oh, there's 2 months till that's ages. Oh, I've got loads of time, and then all of a sudden one day you suddenly realize, oh god, it's in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like it's suddenly like the time just flies, and you suddenly realize it's not actually as far away as what you thought it was. And then you suddenly realize that you've got all this stuff to do, but you've also got work and you've also got other life stuff, and you just have less time than what you realized that you were going to have. And a lot of the time, like I said, it's not done on purpose. I think a lot of the time it's just that people, like I said, they just don't realize how close it suddenly come up to the event coming, and then it suddenly hits them in the face.
No, absolutely, and I'll just butt in for a little bit, and basically, so I had to find a definition of con crunch, and unfortunately, I found it on Urban Dictionary, and I had to read it 4 times to make sure what I'm reading is not rude, even though I do swear and all this and all that, and we just mentioned about wanking earlier. But anyway, so con crunch from UrbanDictionary.com says the act of procrastination on a cosplay or cosplays, and only having a short amount of time to finish it because you found other things to distract you. Does that sound right?
That's definitely a thing that can happen as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's just that you don't realize how much time there is, but I definitely think other times people do procrastinate and almost put off doing it.
Yeah.
And find other things to do and almost avoid trying to do it.
Yeah, it's also when cosplays are a time sink, aren't they? Like you'd spend a lot of time doing them, and if you're like, the next stage is like it could ruin the entire thing, you will procrastinate for days, if not months, because you're like, oh, because you could ruin it, and then as soon as you get over that hurdle and do it, and it goes well, then it's full steam ahead again.
Or if there's just a part in the process that you don't enjoy as much.
Yeah.
If there's an aspect of the making of it that it's just a part that you really hate doing or something, you've got to do it, but you're gonna, again, in that situation, you're gonna put off that part because you just really can't be bothered to do it, but then that holds up the whole cosplay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to reveal something to the both of you that you don't know, but have mentioned on the podcast before. I have actually cosplayed before. I've actually made a whole costume, practically from scratch. I got the base material and then built it from that. And I've con crunched without knowing I've con crunched. But I tell you something, when I couldn't get it done, I put it down and I went, do you know what? I'm just going to go as myself. But at that time, I actually did it as a what's the word to say? I did it as an experiment. I wanted to understand why did people cosplay. I love cosplay when I first understood the concept of it, but I did wonder why do you do it and things like that. So I thought rather than just trying to understand it by watching, I thought, you know what, I'm going to cosplay myself.
Yeah.
And I get it now. I get it, and that's why I have this notion. I have this policy that I said, if you run out of time and you go, oh my god, Ed, I know we agreed to shoot with this, but I've run out of time. I'm changing cosplay. I'm actually going to go, yeah, okay, it's fine, because I understand the time restraints and things like that. But
yeah,
the more I've been in this I say industry, the more I've been in this community, the more I see and hear. I hear this phrase "con crunch" a lot, and I personally don't like it, and I don't like the stigma it comes with. Well, I wouldn't say the word stigma, but you know what I mean. It's the baggage, what it comes with it, and yeah. And I just want to talk a little bit further. So, I'll start with Ingrid on this question. So, you said you con crunch it. How often do you do it?
It is now my routine. Before I go on, am I quiet? Oh no, it's gotten louder now. There we go. My bars weren't showing. I wasn't spitting bars enough. Yeah, so years ago, oh my god. So back when I was 14, 15, when I started making them, I think it's just because I was in school and I had weekends and evenings, and I didn't get much time on video games, so I had more time to make stuff. So I would make my costumes and it would always be done. And I guess they were like there and ready for when I go to an event, which happened once or twice a year. Then when I got older and was at uni, again, like I lived by myself, I did my work, and then I have all the free time to make stuff. And I've got all the materials there because it's what, I was doing costumes and props at uni. So I'd always have costumes ready before I required them. Since finishing uni and everything and getting a job, that's all gone to shit. And it's like I don't have the time, but I am determined. So, for example, I sat down in October, just after con, and I was like, well, I'm not going to con again until April. I've got winter. It's cold outside. I will spend all of winter inside sewing my cotillion gown for Mal or the Tinkerbell, like, whatever, I don't know how to describe that one, but it's a Tinkerbell rendition. And is it Daki from Demon Slayer? Got all that time. I will be able to power through those. I haven't done one. I haven't even touched them, and now we're in January, almost February, and now I've got this new distraction of the collars and stuff. So now I'm like, okay, it gives me about a month and a half because Cos Expo's on the 1st, isn't it? I think of April. So it's going to be a con crunch, but I'm ready for it. I'm prepared. But that's how it's always gone now for the last 4 or 5 years. I seem to not be able to create without pressure. I have evolved into some pressure requiring creature where if the pressure's not there, I procrastinate for months. And it just doesn't happen. I'll order materials, I'll order supplies, but will I get off my arse and do it? No, I'll do something else. And now I've discovered Deep Rock Galactic, and now I won't stop playing that. So, yeah.
I find that that's actually a really common thing. Obviously, it depends on what kind of person you are, and potentially as well, if you are neurodivergent or things like that, that can definitely affect the way that you kind of approach things. But some people work better under pressure.
Yeah.
Some people, if you say to them, oh, you've got 3 months to do this, that without that time pressure on it, they don't get it done. But if you say to them, you've got 3 days to do this, that sudden pressure of having no time to do it, they actually work amazingly and they just steam through it. Other people crack under that pressure. Other people can't deal with it.
You saying that makes a lot of sense because when I put myself in my work environment, I would prefer it for someone to say, we've got this proposal, it's got 3 months. Instead of saying 3 months, I'd rather them say a month and a half, but if you do need extra time, I'm sure we could squeeze it out of them, because then I'm more likely to complete 90% of the work in that time, and then I'm doing bunny ears, but the extension time, which never existed because it already had 3 months, I would just get it done quicker. It would be done earlier. Because, if you give me that time, I don't know how to say it, but my brain just doesn't work. It just sits there. But if you're under pressure, you just perform. It's bizarre. There is no explanation.
I know what you mean. I think I've obviously everyone's worked to a tight deadline and left things to the last minute. I don't know if I thrive on that really. I just get it done, and I definitely don't like it. And I hate doing it. Sometimes I try to do projects where I'm going, right, I'm just going to get ahead of the game. I'm trying to sort this out, sort that out. I don't want to be, what's the word? What word am I thinking? I don't want to be complacent, really. So it's weird that happens. But I know what you mean. I also get that as well.
Yeah. Just to get out of the way.
Yeah, that's for me to get away. But yeah. Anyway, Leia, what about you? How often do you con crunch?
So, like I said, I have done it before. Now I tend to kind of avoid it. I am not someone who thrives under pressure. There's that whole diamonds are formed under pressure. That's not me. I will shatter under pressure. So I have done it in the past and I've pulled things out, but now I try and plan ahead as much as I can and start things as early as possible, because of if I am leaving everything to the last minute, I will just get myself so stressed about it. And like you said, it's a non-cosplayer will often think, well, if it's not coming together and you don't think you can do it in time, just leave it, kind of thing. It's not a big deal. But for like I don't know about anybody else, but for me as a cosplayer, like if I'm working on a cosplay and I've got my heart set on that cosplay and that's what I want to do for con, if I'm leaving it all to the last minute and then things aren't going to plan, like I feel heartbroken. If the idea of not doing it is just soul destroying, the idea of not doing it when I've already put so much work into it because it's going wrong at the last second, like I can't, like it makes me so upset. Like my heart is now set on doing this cosplay and I need to try and make it happen, and that stress and that pressure for me is just too much. Like I'd rather have it all sorted like ridiculously early and have it already, I'll be starting to pack my case for con like 2 weeks before con. I'll have it all packed. I'll have it all packed for like a week and everything's ready. And I'm like, everyone else is going, oh my God, con crunch. And I'm sat there like, fine, I'm just going to sit and play Genshin because I got nothing to do.
You do the thing where you like pack it like a month and a half in advance, and then every couple of weeks you go through it and make sure everything's in there, and you do it over and over and over again.
So I make a list of everything I need to pack and tick it all off, and I put all of my cosplays in their own like individual like labeled bags.
Yeah, I do that with the
stuff
vacuum
in my case and everything. Yeah, it's really weird.
It's not like there's like I guess possibly, but we're just organised with a dash of anxiety.
That's me.
I'm going to start calling bullshit in a minute on you two, especially on this podcast that we're talking about. No, I was only joking. No, that's cool. No, I get what you're saying. It's understandable, and it's nice that you've learning from that, and hope you can still contribute to some of these questions that I've got to answer. So, well, let's revert back to Ingrid when I asked this question. Said, so why don't you plan? Why don't you? I know you say you work probably better under pressure, but do you not? I mean, you can't enjoy that pressure. Why don't you just plan it so that you give yourself a nice, like, relaxing time, just ease it in. You can start playing games here and there, or you know what?
I plan. I do too many plans. My thing is list making. I have like 8 lists for the same damn thing because I just keep making them because that satisfies my brain. But I still don't do it. Like today, I sat down and wrote a list for this week of everything I'm going to do for each evening of this week and then the weekend. We'll see if I do them. I get dopamine if I tick them off the list. It's like I plan too much, and I think maybe I possibly overwhelm myself, but I plan and I get satisfaction from planning, and I order the materials and I have everything ready, like in my cosplay arterial. I just don't. It's the whole getting out of bed and doing something situation.
No, I get that. Can I just ask one thing? For today's podcast, where did I fit in your plan for this podcast record that you remembered about?
Oh, what in my list?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. See.
Shut up! You said this was said off air. She forgot about it. She was good.
Yeah, she did say that.
I did forget about it, and then I remembered. Like, so basically, all day I've been thinking about it. I go home, I get distracted by Pretty Charms and sorting out my ribbons in my new storage case. I got to try and organise some of my ribbons, and then my mum's like, "Here's some food." I look at my phone to check, and then I see it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's 8." So it's not that I'd completely forgotten. I just did not know what the time was.
Yeah,
here we go. Wednesday, sort out stack, begin arranging bows and embellishments for collars. Cast with Eddie. And then Thursday, continue to arrange bows and embellishments for collars.
But you're doing, again, you made your plans, but everything you've planned is bows and collars and not getting your cosplay sorted.
Yeah, it's not. It's now being postponed because I've got an event on February 19th, and I was just like, well, I want to make money, so I'll make some stock for that instead. So that's what's happening, and now that's what's created the con crunch. Because now it's gone to... I'll have like a month and a half to make a costume, and now it's gone down to 1. I think I'm just going to make...
But you can plan. This is literally the question I'm asking you. Why don't you plan?
No, I do plan. It's just by another thing to do. So sometimes I'll get ahead in something else I didn't need yet, but I'll be behind in something that I needed sooner. Because I can't stick to the plan. Otherwise, I get depressed. So basically... I do what I think will make me happier. If I'm like, tomorrow I plan to make, a pair of wolf's feet, and then I'm really not in the mood to do, I don't know, sculpting of horns, and then I'll wake up tomorrow and be like, I really fancy sculpting. Fuck the feet, I'll do the horns, because it gets that out of the way. and I'm doing something that I fancy
Okay.
doing that day. Does that make sense?
It does make sense because I do that as well. But at the same time, because I know I've gone through this myself, part of me is going, all you're doing is starting small little projects but never finishing. And if
This
you
is
don't finish a
ADHD,
small little...
man. This is my life. Everything. Forgetting everything. Every 10 minutes, I will forget. It's like going to the fridge every 20 minutes because I'm bored. Don't pick anything out the fridge. There's nothing in there I want. The fridge is boring. But I will still go to check the fridge every 5 minutes. And yes, it pisses me off, but I continue to do it. I have no control.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Oh God. Oh God. Okay, right.
What was
before
I
Layla
looking at my phone for? There was the cosplay. Yeah, I've gone from 2 cosplays to doing just one now, but I can't find my list for it.
Okay, that's fine. You look at this list.
There we go. Now I'm just
got-
gonna do the cotillion gown and not Tinkerbell.
Right. Okay. Cool. What was I going to say before Lele come in? You have no idea just listening to that how frustrated I got listening.
It's stressful just to listen about it, isn't it?
It really is because like I said, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm perfect that I plan everything meticulously, but I do try to plan as much as I can because I've recently found out how much of a control freak I am, and yeah, that's. When you discover how much of a control freak you are, I go, oh God, yeah, that really actually explains this and that and that and this and this. Oh God, okay then, right, okay then. So when I try to plan things, I say, I'm going to Comic-Con, I have this there, get this charged, get that charged, get this emptied, make sure this project is finished beforehand and all that. So for me to hear someone that goes, right, I have a plan, but actually I'm going to do this plan instead, which is not a plan, it's just a list. And I'm going to go through that list. But actually there's a sub-list to that list. And then, actually I'm going to create a new list that has a second sub-list to that with a third sub-list.
You've legit explained it perfectly.
And then you get to the point where you then go through the list and you go, don't actually want to do that today though, so I'm just going to do something completely different, and you don't even stick to the list anyway.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating. And then apparently you just stare at a fridge. I don't know why. You just stare at a fridge.
You sound so fucking bad. No, I hear it. I sound like a basket case.
I mean, I do want to say it loud. Anyway, but no, I just wanted to get that out of my chest. Anyway, Layla, you chime in with your. Why don't you? I mean, obviously you say you plan better now, but in the past, what prevented you from planning your cosplay bills?
So again, I think it was for me. It was often losing
my religion,
losing my mind.
Me at the time, no, you. Sorry, carry on.
So it's that losing track of time. You know, like when it's the run up to Christmas, and you thinking, oh, I've got ages to buy my presents for everyone, and then suddenly you go, oh my God, it's the 9th of December, and I've bought no presents, and I've got to try and buy everyone's presents now, and and it's that same kind of thing. It's that sudden, oh my God, it's a week and a half to con, and I haven't made this, and I need this. And then it's that panic. That's definitely one element for me that is why in the past I've done that, and now I try and, if anything, I overdo it. I mean, right now, I have basically got all my cosplays sorted already from May. I go extreme the other way. I've got months left, but I'm doing it now. But I think another thing as well is, especially, because I've made props and things. I don't generally sew, but I have made props and stuff. And more so when I was first starting out with doing things like that, and I was less confident with doing it because I was new to doing stuff. And same with wig styling, now I'll take a wig and a pair of scissors and I'll just go at it, and I'm used to styling wigs and cutting them. Whereas at first it'd be like, oh God, I don't really know what I'm doing, and what if I mess it up and things. That fear of you're not really sure if you're going to be able to do it right. You're worried that you might mess it up because if you've never really done this before and you don't know what you're doing. That would definitely make me procrastinate and avoid doing it until it got to a point where it was like, oh God, I need to do this now. And I've actually now given myself even less time when really I need more time because I don't know how to do this. And I've never done it before and I'm still learning and I'm slower at it. But the procrastination has actually given you less time than what you should have given yourself, really. And then it's just a whole thing. So for me, it was definitely like I said, you know, when I was first learning how to do some things, that fear of failure, I guess, would make me procrastinate, definitely.
No, that's. I think that's what I assume that would be the case as well. Sorry, I'm still laughing at losing my religion.
You're just sat there like, I am hilarious, Scott.
I really did. I'm sitting there chuckling to go, ha ha ha, I am funny, ha ha. Anyway, no, it's like it's good to hear that you're learning from that and things like that. I mean, what's your reaction? And I was like, very quickly, what's your reaction when you hear others say they con crunch? Do you do you give them sympathy, or do you go fuck that shit?
I'm like, fuck that shit. Like I said, I find it really stressful. That's because I have anxiety issues, and yeah, I just find the whole thing stressful, and I just, you know, look at it and I'm like, fuck that. And I also, it can actually be really stressful in other situations. So, for example, I've done a group cosplay before, and we started planning it a couple of months, you know, 3 months before con. And I got all of my stuff together for it and everything. And it was, you know, 3 weeks before con, and, you know, they still don't have their stuff sorted. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And they're making it. Then they're making the dress. It was when we did Hocus Pocus. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
You remember Hocus Pocus?
Oh yes, I remember that one.
Remember Hocus Pocus, and they were making their costumes and everything, and I'm like, okay, you know, they're going to get it done. It's you know, I'm allowed to, it's my sister, I'm allowed to talk about it, actually, you know. And it got closer and closer, and it was the last week running up to con, and I'm like, oh, how's the Winnie dress coming along? It's not even been started yet, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, oh, is it, you know, when you're going to start it? Oh, we're meant to be, you know, sorting it out this day, and then that day comes and it doesn't happen. And I'm starting to panic because I'm thinking, I don't want to do Sarah Sanderson on my own. Like, we're doing this as a group. And on her own, it won't have the same impact as with the three of you. It won't go down as, you know, when it's the three of you, it's like, wow, it's the Sanderson sisters. But when it's just one of you, it's like, oh, it's all right. It'll do, but it's just not the same. So I was like, if it's just going to end up being me, if this isn't going to happen, I would rather know so that I can plan. And if I've got other cosplays, I can sort out a backup one and bring something else.
I remember that weekend now. I remember because you were telling me about it and how you're saying, yeah, the other two haven't quite got theirs yet. And I'm going, oh, God, no.
Yeah. And they literally, no joke, they brought the sewing machine with them to the hotel room.
Yeah.
And they were literally sewing this dress together in the hotel room the night before. They were up until like 4 a.m. sewing this dress. They needed to. The wig wasn't styled or anything. They were having to do more like hand stitching stuff in the morning. They had to wake up at like I said, they were sewing till like 4, and then they woke up at like 6 and carried on and was hand stitching all of this different stuff and sorting things out. And then they were doing their makeup in the car, and then like sorting out the Winnie wig, like pinning it when they got out of the car when they parked up. And it was stressful for me because I know I get that they were really stressed, but I was like, yeah, but you've made me stressed as well because of I didn't know if this cosplay was even going to happen. Like, it was all so thrown together. I brought a backup with me because of I was so paranoid that it wasn't actually going to come. You know, that they were going to message me at 6 a.m. on the day saying, yeah, it's all gone wrong. We haven't been able to sort it out or something. Yeah. And in that kind of situation, you know, it can affect, if you're doing a group thing, it can affect the other people in the group. And I think people that con crunch don't always realize that.
It's not fair at all.
Yeah, I was just like, I was having like a breakdown about it, and I'm not even the one that was con crunch.
That's the kind of con crunch that I'm like, I'm out. Like, no, that doesn't. So I never do that. I'm not that level of con crunch. I'm like, I'll plan for 3 months to make this costume, and I'll end up making it in the last 2 weeks. But I will never miss a night's sleep, and I won't be doing it past midnight the night before.
I've seen other people. When I went to Anime Expo, one of the girls there brought her sewing machine with her,
That's crazy.
And she was literally sewing her. She was we were all working on a booth, and some of us had the morning shift and some of us had the afternoon shift. And she was on the afternoon shift, and she's sewing her cosplay that morning for her afternoon shift on the
It's
booth.
cutting
And
it
I'm
too
like,
fine. It stops it from
dude,
being enjoyable at all.
like me and Becca were just, you know Becca already. We were
Which
just
Beck? Oh yeah.
Becca.
Yeah, Becca. Yeah.
Becca. We were just sat there looking at each other like, I need to get out this room because just watching her doing this right now is stressing me out too much. I can't cope with it. It's too much.
I know, and there's a later question. Is it the next? Oh, yeah, it's the next question I was about to ask, but I just want to quickly get Ingrid on this one. So I didn't realize there were other levels to con crunching. I didn't realize there's level 1, level 2, and all that. So nice to know that. No, but I mean, very quickly, what do you feel when you hear others do con crunching?
Well, I guess if it's the same kind of con crunch as me, it's like, yeah, that's not pleasant. But
do you show sympathy to them? Do you feel like, oh, I get where you're coming from?
Yeah, but I don't actually have sympathy for people like what you just described, because that's just stupidity at the end of the day. It goes past the point of being like, you had time, you waited. Oh, now you've only got a week and a half, but it's manageable. To do it within the last, like, not even 24 hours is scary, and that would just make me cry.
If it's got a little finishing touch to put on it,
yeah, that's fine. But
yeah,
like,
that's fine.
really sewing something, and no, you've left it too late. Unless it's sewing a bow. Like, if you're actually, you know what I mean? Like you were saying, the costume hadn't even been started. Oh my god. I would have just, I don't even know. I've not been in that situation, so I don't know. I would not be happy, and I'd probably just cry and say I'm not going. Or have a backup cosplay.
Yeah, no, I don't know that. And I think it's harder when you're doing, if you like a cosplay on your own, at least all you're failing yourself. Whereas if you're in a group, it's not only yourself that you're failing, it's that the others that either rely on you and vice versa, that you're being let down yourself if they're the one con crunching as well. So yeah,
it's just not fair. It's like
it's not
pushing
fair.
pressure onto everyone and just making this horrible vibe of like dread, essentially.
Absolutely. Well, the next question I've got on my list is, have you ever considered like ditching that current cosplay build that you're doing and just re-wearing something else, or just, you know, wear a different cosplay? Is that something that comes to mind, or is it something that not even a last resort? That's not even in part of the equation.
Used to not be part of the equation, but now it's like, shit happens, and I struggle. I start drowning in how much I set for myself to do.
Yeah.
So I've got to the point where it's sort of like I've got to be adult and understand my limits, and I'm still wearing something I've made or something I've bought and really enjoy wearing. So whatever I end up wearing, made or bought, I'm going to enjoy being in. So although it's not potentially what I'd planned to wear originally, it's better for my brain. It's better for my mental health, that's the word. Because like already for Cos Expo, I was going to do a special brand new Tinkerbell and make that all from scratch with material I've not used before. And then have Mouse Cotillion gown, which I started, drumroll please, 6 years ago. I got it out. I put it on a mannequin this time, so maybe that will encourage me. But like, no jokes, that thing is old. And Facebook, right, called me out the other day. I got it out of my storage, and then like 2 days later, it was like, Facebook has got one of your posts from like 2 years ago. It was this fucking post saying, it was me. I'd written a post saying, "This is the year I will finish this gown." That was like 2 years ago. So even Facebook is out to get me. But anyway,
to be fair, like 3 years ago there was a pandemic and you had nowhere to go, and we had so much free. Wait, this is probably making it worse.
I worked through it though. I didn't even get.
Fair enough then.
Yeah, that's when I was still doing the special top secret stuff, which didn't.
Fair. Yeah, let's not go down that road.
Yeah, what's it called? Yeah, no. So now I'm sort of like, I understand I want to make profit. I potentially want to become self-employed or go back into MOD. So depending on whatever works out for me, I'm going to be busy doing self-employed stuff or a new job that I want to enjoy. But with ADHD, I fucking hate every job I do because I get bored immensely. but I'm just like, get me out of here. But it just means I've got to be more responsible with what I can actually take on. So I'm like, at the moment I'm doing these collars, I'm going to head towards that self-employment route, which means something's got to budge, which is the cosplay. So rather than doing 2 new cosplays for the Cos Expo, I've already slashed one. I mean, it's months away, but I've already slashed one off my list because that relieves pressure from me, gives me more like actual realistic expectations and goals to achieve. And what will be, and I can just wear something else. When the time comes, I'll decide who I feel like taking, depending on the weather and stuff, I guess. Because I think it's been quite cold still in April, isn't it? I've not been to Cos Expo before. But, yeah. So
Yeah.
I've learnt to just go with the flow, essentially.
Yeah, fair enough. Lele, what about you? I mean, have you ever thought about... So when you work on crunching things, or have you ever got to a stage... So let me start that again. Have you ever got to a stage about, that you've come to, like, ditching that cosmic build and wearing something else different?
I've definitely thought about it. I've definitely got to points where I've been like, this isn't going to happen. I can't do this. Can't get it together in time. Can't get it sorted. Can't get things done. But more often than not, I then sit there and go, no, I have to. And yeah, I'll then, last October, we booked a place to do like a load of cosplay shoots. And I was doing a bunch of like new ones that I was getting ready for it. And I was having to sort bits out and style wigs and having to figure out ways to make the stupid hats stay on my head because they didn't want to stay on my head. And getting industrial magnets and attaching them to the inside of the wig and the inside of the hat. And then I realised after doing that the magnets I got weren't strong enough and they weren't actually working through the wig. And then I was like, oh God, and I had to order more. And then it when things get like they got lost in the post and then I had to get more. And, when things keep going wrong sometimes and you're almost like, the universe doesn't want me to do this. I should just not do it. But then I'm like, no, I have to.
Wait, did you say your magnets got lost in the post?
Yes.
They're stuck to some machine fucking up.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Right.
That's
so
hilarious.
What happened is, so I ordered the magnets first. And like I said, they weren't strong enough, the ones I got. And then my friend Calum, do you know Calum, Eddie? The Wong.
I do not. No.
The Wong cosplay. His username is the Wong cosplay. He does Wong.
And
Doctor Strange and stuff a lot. So he was like, "Oh, I've actually got a bunch of magnets that I used for my Doctor Strange cloak to like magnetize it on. Do you want some? I can just send them to you." And I was like, "Yeah, cool, that's great." And he sends them to me, but he just sends them in like a padded envelope. And it gets to it's like a week and a half later, and I'm like, did you send them? And he's like, yeah, I sent them like a week and a half ago. And I was like, oh, they're not here. And he was like, oh, I sent them like first class, like signed for and everything. And I was like, well, they're not here. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm just gonna have to like Amazon some or something. And like, because it was not that long at this point until the shoot, and I couldn't even wait to for normal postage. I needed them like the next day if I was going to do this. So I Amazon some. I think about 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, after the shoot, they turned up in this padded envelope that was battered to shit. Like, this envelope was full of fucking holes and looked like it'd seen some things, man. It'd seen some shit. And I was like, oh, your fucking magnets are right. They've clearly been stuck to the inside of some fucking post van for a long time.
Sorry. All I can hear in my head, all I can hear in my head is now, you don't know, man. You weren't there, man. You weren't there.
So yeah, I had a magnet situation, but
What? But all right, that's not your fault per se that you had to con crunch then, or you were going for that.
But obviously, I could have just sort of gone, do you know what? It's gone wrong. I'm just gonna leave this one. But I was like, no, I have to. I've put too much into it now.
Yeah.
I've put too much effort into sorting this stuff out now that if I don't do it, I'm going to be upset. So, and this was the really funny part, was I worked myself ragged, kind of make sure that I got all of the cosplays I had planned done, and then I couldn't fit them all in my suitcase. And I had so many bags because I had like a big box with a wig on, with a styled wig on a wig head for Becca, that I had to like make sure it didn't get knocked about or anything because it was styled. And I had a backpack full of props and like vintage books and stuff to use as props. Yeah. And I had a camera that my friend had bought off me that she was going to take off me like when she met with me, and that was like on a bag around me. And I had another bag with a bunch of stuff, and I had the biggest suitcase in the world, and I had to try and get on like 3 different trains with this huge suitcase and a backpack and a box and something else. And I was like, if I can't fit this in my suitcase, like I can't take another bag. Like I don't have enough hands. Like it's just not gonna work. So, and I literally could not fit them all. I planned to do like 7 cosplays on this weekend shoot. It was a bit excessive. It was a bit too much, really. And I had to look and be like, I've got to cut one out. Like, what am I going to cut out? I ended up deciding to cut the one out with the magnets that I'd worked so hard trying to do. I didn't bring it with me.
Oh.
But I still felt pleased that I'd got it already.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's fine.
Is it though? Is it fine? I know what that sounds like. I'm fine.
It's fine.
No. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. Well, I'm so sorry that you made that cosplay and then end up going, I can't take it with you this time. I'm going to have to leave you behind. I'm so sorry.
It happens. One of them had to get left behind, and it just happened to be that one. It was one of like the biggest, bulkiest ones, and I was like, if I take that one out of the case, it's going to make the most room. So and it had the most, like some of the most like bulkiest like props and things as well to go with it. And I was like, if I get rid of that, I'm going to have so much more room. So it's fine though, because I took that one to MCM October, which was only like a few weeks after our shoot anyway. So it's fine. I wore it not long later. It was okay. It's okay.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I'm noticing the times. I'm going to move it along a little bit, and I kind of want to ask this question, which I think this is what the crux of the podcast is about. Not so the crux of it. I think this is where my mind goes when I think about con crunching, because this feels like something that's been developing over years now, and I feel like this is such a wrong attitude to have. But maybe this is just a me thing. So the question will be, and I'll start with. Who do I start with? I'll start with Lele again. Do you think people use con crunch as a badge of honor type of thing? Like, the only thing I can think of a positive thing for that, it's like a bonding moment between people that say, have you con crunched? Yeah, I con crunched. Yeah, let's hug it out together. We can cry together. Woo!
I do think that maybe there are some people out there who do kind of try and use it almost as like a flex. Like, oh, I made this whole cosplay in a day, and it's almost like, yeah, that's right, I'm so good, I made this in a day, kind of thing. So there may be some people out there who kind of use it almost as a way to brag. But actually, it's like, no, that's just stupid to leave it to 24 hours before. But yeah, I do. Some people maybe see it as, like you said, almost like a badge of honor in the sense of actually using it as a flex. And we, when we were kind of talking like off air earlier a little bit, we kind of said about how, sometimes when you talk to people, they'll say that they con crunch, and then if you actually start talking to them in more detail, they didn't really con crunch that much, to be honest. Like, when you actually start listening to what they were actually doing and you get more info from them, they weren't really con crunching that much. They actually had most of their stuff ready in like pretty good time. And they just had a couple of little like finishing details that they did, which is pretty normal, but they'll make it out like they con crunched, and like they were and I think again that's where like maybe they're trying to flex a bit or something. Like either that, or like you said, maybe they're just trying to kind of, I don't know, be part of the con crunch community. Like, I don't maybe they just want to feel like they can, like I said, have that bonding with the people that do con crunch or something. I don't know. But there are people out there that do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And those are the only kind of reasons that I can think of as to why they would. But
Mm.
a lot of people who con crunch, though, I would say most of the people who con crunch do actually con crunch, and they just do it for the other reasons, kind of thing. They've lost track of time, or they've procrastinated, or whatever. I think most people do it for that, but you get a few people maybe who aren't doing it because of that, and who maybe are either flexing or even lying about it, because it does happen.
Yeah, it does happen. Like we said right at the beginning of the podcast, some people do actually thrive on the pressure of actually trying to get it done in a very short window, which I don't like to hear. But at the same token, if that's their preferred method of like making costumes, and fair enough, I can't really argue with that. Things like that. Ingrid, what about you? Do you think it's a badge of honor? Do you think people use it as a badge of honor?
I personally don't think it's a badge of honor, and it's like Lele summed it up perfectly with the whole, from what I said earlier about, often when you get talking to someone who's like, oh yeah, I con crunched, I did this all last night, and it's like you start talking to them and the cracks start showing and their lies fall apart, because they're like, you did that a few weeks ago, you did the boots a few months ago, oh, you used that from an old costume, and it's like, so what did you do in the con crunch that you're trying to be part of? But then often you do get other people who genuinely do con crunch, and I think it's stupid, because like this whole time at the beginning I'm like, yeah, I con crunch, because in my mind I thought con crunch would be how I do it, in terms of I want to do it over the course of 3 months so that I'm not under pressure, and I've got plenty of time to do stuff should a material not work the way I want it to, and blah blah blah. But still be under pressure and be like, because to me it's still a bit of pressure if I don't finish before the week of con. Like, I want it to be done. Sorry, my laptop just made a weird noise and it confused me. Yeah,
you're still with us. Don't worry, carry on.
It sounded like rain, and I was like, "Why are you raining in there?" But yeah, where was I? Whereas I've lost my train of thought completely. I think what I was saying is,
train is gone.
It's like when I con crunch, it's like I finish days before con. But the con crunch you guys were talking about, which I wasn't quite getting at first, is you guys are talking about the extreme con crunch where you crunch within 24 hours. And I completely agree that that's stupid. And would you want to be proud of that? Because it just shows you're a disorganized fuck.
Yeah. Whenever people say it, and like I said, I do hear people a lot of the time when they're talking about it, they don't sound stressed about it. They're not like, oh my god, I'm so stressed, I literally only just finished this. They're kind of talking about it like, oh yeah, con crunching, and they're kind of, like you said, saying it almost in a way of like it's fun, or like it's in a positive way, and I'm like, dude, that's not something to be proud of. Like, you're just disorganized and have made loads of work for yourself when you didn't need to, and it's
weird and clicky. Like, you can't sit with us kind of attitude of, I con crunch, so one of the cool kids, like, no.
Yes,
why did you do that to yourself? If you legitimately did that, why? Are you okay?
No.
Are you okay? Do you need help?
Do
you need me to get someone?
Do you need some caffeine? Here's some paracetamol.
Do you need to seek help?
Yeah.
No, and that's practically how I feel. It's like, why would you do this to yourself? It just, are you like, because part of me is thinking, how can you con crunch if you are doing it legitimately? Let's say you're not faking it, and you're doing it legitimately, and like you're working to the late hours, 4:00 in the morning, and drinking Red Bull or coffee, whatever.
Literally sitting there watching paint dry.
Literally, yeah. And then you wear it literally hours later. Like, I can't imagine you're having a good time because you're tired, you're exhausted,
No.
you're thinking about your costume, you're hoping it'll stay together and all that. I'm like going, dude, this can't be good. This can't be great. So actually, this actually brings it to my next question, which is do you think it's good for your mental health? Is it, although we've mentioned earlier that said, some people thrive on it, people enjoy that time pressure and all that to get it all done. Do you think it's good for your mental health to be con crunching?
I think it really depends on the individual and their frame of mind.
I mean, overall, I feel like in general, I would say no, but then again, I'm someone that hates con crunching, so I would say that. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, I have issues with like anxiety and things. I know I have medication that I take for anxiety. So for me, con crunching is seriously bad for my mental health. It stresses me out way too much. Like it will bring me to the verge of like full on just like meltdowns if I am like putting myself under that much pressure at such short notice. And it's like I said, the night before, and I'm gluing stuff and I'm cutting wigs and I'm flitting between different things trying to sort everything out. And it's literally the night before, I will literally just end up like a crying mess because I can't handle that. You know, my anxiety will just go through the roof over it. It's not good for my mental health. But like I said, some people are different, and some people, you know, some people need that kind of time pressure. And like I said, some people just really do seem to thrive under it, and some people even do seem to actually almost enjoy it. And I guess it does vary person to person. Like overall, I think in general it's probably for a lot of people not the best for your mental health. To put yourself under like that much stress on it. You know, if you do find yourself getting very stressed with it, then, you know, it is something that you need to look at. Well, you know, I need to address the way I do this then in the future, because of, you know, if you are finding yourself just miserable with the stress of it. But if you don't find that, and you don't actually find that you sort of feel stressed with it, and you feel like you're just, you know, it's motivating you almost, then, you know, if that works for you, then great. Doesn't for me. But, you know, you do you, boo.
I love that phrase. You do you.
You do you, boo.
You do you. No, which is fine. You know, it's a legitimate thing to say, because it is. It's such a lot of these subjects I talk about, it's actually quite personal, and and when I mean by personal, as in you take out of this what you will. It doesn't have to be like the be all end all of what we say. You don't have to say, you know, don't have to take on board what we say. It's just a nice discussion that I always think like a nice discussion to talk about. Yeah, I just, like I said earlier, I just don't think it's good for the mental health that you're spending you spend what? Okay, again, on it, merging from a different podcast, you spend 80 quid at least for a weekend ticket to get to Comic Con in MCM London. And if you're going to spend some of that time, or majority of your time, half your time, still making your costume at that late hour, are you really enjoying your weekend?
And like,
Just
look, oh my god, how much are the hotels now? Like, you literally spend hundreds on the hotels as well, plus your train tickets, plus everything else, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, you then end up spending the free time that you have outside of con just in your room, like sewing and gluing and making things, and not really getting to like socialize and see people you haven't seen for ages and do stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
but if you're spending at least hundreds on your hotel room, at least you're making the most use of that time at the hotel, because you're in the hotel room, not just, you know, you're not just sleeping in it. That was always my bugbear about hotels, is like, I spend all this money and all I'm doing is sleeping 8 hours of the day. That's all I'm doing. And things like that. So, Ingrid, I haven't actually got your point of view on this. So, do you think it's good for mental health?
Depends on your mindset, really, or how the planets are aligned. I don't know. Because for me, it's all to do with timing. Like, if I finish the costume about a week before con and everything's gone perfectly, I am positive, I am happy, I'm raring to go. If I finish it a considerable amount before con, I'll get kind of bored of that costume before I've even worn it, and be like, I lose that hype of like, we'll get to wear it in a few days' time, and then I'll be like inclined to start something else. Not necessarily to wear to that con, but I won't have that same high-pitched enjoyment and positivity I had upon completion. So I guess I subconsciously time my costumes to be finished a few days before con, so that I'm still on that high. I think.
I actually do get that.
Yeah.
I've definitely had cosplays that I've ended up not wearing. So, for example, I was gonna do Nezuko from Demon Slayer to con in 2020. which, as we all know, didn't happen.
What? Wait, what happened in 2020?
There's some stuff happened. You have to like Google it. You know, some shit happened in 2020.
Okay, let me just get on the Google. What?
So obviously I had this cosplay ready,
Mm.
and then it got cancelled, and the next one was cancelled, and we went a long time with no cons.
Yeah.
And then when cons came back, I got new cosplays to do. And then I kept telling myself, oh, I'll do Nezuko at some point. But then I just kept getting new cosplays. And I think there was that element of too much time had gone past. I was excited about it when I first had it ready to go.
Mm.
But by the time cons then came back around, my hype around it, even though I really liked myself in it, something had like fizzled out with it, and I wasn't as bothered about taking it to a con, and I just kept getting new ones until it got to a point where I was like, I'm never going to take this to a con, am I? Like, why? Like, it's just not going to happen. And I think it is because of that.
So for what I'm hearing is con crunching's bad, but if you avoid con crunching so much and you plan so much ahead and give yourself so much space, you end up not wearing it. So, what are we saying to people? You should con crunch and don't at the same time. What are you saying?
I think it's finding the balance between like I said, there's the extreme con crunching where you're literally doing it 24 hours before. That's stupid. Don't do that. But at the same time, I mean, like I said, I've gone a bit extreme this time. Who knows? Maybe by May, I won't want to do those cosplays anymore because I've done them so early. It's finding that nice balance of like trying to make sure that you have everything done within like a week or two of con.
Yeah. Well, I should say, in context, for anyone listening to this podcast, we're recording this late January, so we've got about 4 months to go to May,
Yeah.
and
I'm like, let's do this.
I swear, if I hear Lele just go, oh, I'm con crunching now, I've got a whole new cosplay line, I'm just gonna flip my table and go, no! I'm gonna send you this podcast and make you listen to your own podcast. Jesus Christ. I just read, I got like a side question to that about the mental health thing, and I wonder if it's because the reason why I mentioned about mental health, because do you think it's hard to have a balance between the cosplay, the work-life balance of things? Like, do you con crunch because you're trying to fit everything in?
That can definitely be a reason, I think. I don't know if Ingrid, you agree, but it's definitely hard. I mean, I know you were talking earlier about how when you were younger, it was a bit easier, and then now that you are working and things like that, it's become harder. And then as you want to start doing self-employed things, it's going to get even harder because you're going to even have even less time in it. It does become hard to balance, the more responsibilities you have, if you work full time and you have your own place and you need to make sure that you're tidying and doing housework stuff and things like that as well in some of your free time, and then you also want to spend some of your free time on other hobbies and things you have, or playing video games or whatever, or going and seeing friends or whatever it is you want to do, it cuts that amount of time down that you have for cosplay like shorter and shorter and shorter. And if you focus all your time in cosplay, then you start to neglect some of the other stuff. You don't see friends anymore for ages because you're just working on your cosplay, or your house starts to get into a bit of a tip because you're not really tidying it properly because of that, or you're not doing other things, whether it's reading or video games or whatever that you enjoy doing, you're not doing those things anymore. And then if you're focusing too much on the cosplay and you're not getting the other stuff you like in, you can actually end up starting to not enjoy cosplay. It starts to feel like a chore. It starts to, because of it's taking away from other stuff that you enjoy doing. So it's definitely hard getting that balance, and trying to get that balance could definitely lead to crunching because of you just don't have that much time to put into your cosplays as what you would maybe like to, without sacrificing time somewhere else, And I definitely think that can contribute to it. And in general, it can be a difficult thing to try and manage and make sure that you are getting the balance of things right, because of I've been there. I was, doing cosplay and shoots and stuff as my main job for quite a long time, and I burnt myself out with it, kind of thing, and if you're not careful and you just start to prioritize it over everything else and it starts to overtake things, you can start to actually, like I said, not enjoy it anymore, and the fun starts to get sucked out of it if it starts to become too much of just that's all you ever do and you're neglecting the other stuff that you like. So
Yeah.
it is definitely hard getting that right.
Oh, yeah, getting that balance. That's why I asked, because
Yeah.
it's. I think people forget. Like you were talking about, like trying to. So, okay, bit about my private life. So, as of this podcast, I'm thinking about buying myself a Steam Deck. But about 5 years ago, I bought myself a Nintendo Switch. The thinking was that I would play these games on the go or at home and things like that. I hardly played with my Switch because, like I said, every time I pick it up, I'm like going, "Oh, I don't want to spend time doing this because I actually want to do that. I don't want to do this. I want to do this about my photography, do this." And like, I didn't feel like I made myself time for it. And it just felt like a bit of a chore trying to do it. But at that time, I wasn't probably having a good balance of things. And I knew that, consciously, but I enjoyed more about the cosplay side of things, like doing the website stuff, the editing of photos, things like that. So things like that. So me trying to buy the Steam Deck that I've been eyeing up, because I'm thinking, oh, okay, there's some classic games I want to play again, and
I think you
I'm
should
thinking,
go for it.
oh yeah,
I bought a Switch and I've never fucking used it, but I got a PC and I'm living it.
yeah, exactly, and that's why because
good.
I think it's the type of games that I can't get on the Switch that's really bugging me.
Yeah,
Like
and also it's really nice playing with the mouse and keyboard.
Oh well, the Steam Deck it's a different type of mouse and keyboard, but
Ooh,
yeah,
I've not seen one. I just assumed it was a really good thing with Steam on it. PC with Steam on it.
It's a handheld version of. Think of the Nintendo Switch, but for PC.
Right, that sounds interesting.
I know. Go Google it. And then what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm debating getting a Steam Deck because I am worried that I'm not going to make myself time for it, and I'm just going to waste money doing this. So that's my life, like cosplay work life balance that I'm trying to figure out myself. So yeah,
And there's one of those. I have seen one in person.
yes, I was a EGX tender
and
played one.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Yes. I've noticed how we're running out of time on the podcast, so I just want to finish off with this question. I'll start with Ingrid on this one. Is there any advice you would give about preventing or maybe just coping with con crunch? Is that the advice? It's just exhale.
My advice, although it does help me a lot, but I know other people it would help them more with their mindset, possibly. Is make lists of what you need to buy, what you need to make, what materials you require, and try and split it into manageable chunks, and don't beat yourself up and get like guilt if you don't do it. Just take one day at a time and just go through it in little bites, and make lists. You can apparently with me you can never make enough lists and still stuff doesn't get done, but it does work really well in some cases. So yeah, I'd say just break it down, write it down, and just try and stay organized, and don't feel bad if you don't manage stuff, because there's always another event, always another time, and just make sure you're doing things to a timescale that you're enjoying what you're doing and the outcome. Like, don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself that may have a detrimental effect.
That's some good advice there. Some good advice. Laylee, what about you?
I mean, similar to what Ingrid has said again, like make lists and things and try and, even if you say to yourself, like, this week I'm going to do 2 things on this list. And you might not pick which things at the start of the week, it's just whatever you feel like, but you're going to make sure that you do at least 2 of the things on the list or something, There are, if you find things like this helpful, there are apps, like there's one called Cosplanner, where you can put in
so good.
you can put in like reference pictures of the cosplay you're doing, and you can break it down, and there's in like a section of like things you need to do, and you can put in the different steps, and then you can tick them off as you do them. So it might be, sew this, make that, glue, and you can like tick each bit off as you do it, and it shows you like how, percentage wise, how much it is completed. You're at 72% complete now, and then you tick off the next bit, you're now at 79% complete, and it's a way of like tracking like how close you are to the end of the cosplay, and kind of keeping everything organized. So that there is things like that out there, which if you find that kind of thing helpful, that's always good. It can kind of really depend person to person as well. If you're someone that maybe gets overwhelmed by doing trying to work on multiple cosplays at once, if you're planning a new cosplay for each day at con, and you find it a bit over, you find that you get a bit, all over the place if you're trying to sort out all of them at the same time, well then, you need to adjust the way that you work so that you're just doing one at a time, so that you can just focus on that one costume, and then once that's finished, you move on to the next one. And that might mean that you need to start a bit earlier or something like that, to be able to do that. Or it might even mean that you need to adjust the way that you do things and not do 3 cosplay, start looking at, re-wearing a cosplay or something on one of the days or things like that. But like I said, it can vary person to person, the way that different people work. But it's about looking at the things that work best for you, and then trying to learn from the mistakes that you've maybe made in the past. What things have you done in the past that stress you out with it? And then, because that's basically what I've done. I've done crunching of things, and I've done stuff like that in the past, and I have learned from the things that have stressed me out, and learned from the mistakes as such that I've made, and kind of gone, right, I don't want to do it like that again, and then I've reevaluated the way that I do things and tweaked it to make it work for me. And that's kind of the best thing. Use the times that you've gotten stressed, or use them to your advantage to work out, how am I going to make sure that doesn't happen then.
Absolutely. That's some good advice there from both of you. I just want to say, and I probably should have said this right at the beginning, although there is a disclaimer at the beginning, said by someone else. That is, no matter what we say and do, these are just our opinions. These are our thoughts. If con crunching works for you, if it really does work for you, don't get stressed, you don't get anxiety from it, you enjoy doing it, then carry on doing it. It doesn't matter what we say. It's up to you how you want to do your. As Lele said, it's you do you, babes.
You do you, boo.
You just do exactly what she just says. Do what you think feels real right for you. But if you are feeling that con crunch, if you're feeling, oh my god, you know what, I want to get out of this cycle of like doing con crunching. We've got 2 people here who just gave us some great advice here. You can always ask the social media universe and go, hey, look, I don't want to con crunch anymore. How can I do? There's loads of tips out there, things like that. So I hope you listening to this, you've been triggered and you're not feeling very called out on this. And like I said, we've all like fought to a tight deadline and things like that. And I don't mean to call people out, but I it's a subject I wanted to talk about for years now, and it's just that I'm glad I was able to talk about it, and I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks that this is a negative thing. And I did try to find people who were like enjoyed con crunching, but clearly it's a thing that's it's seen to be not liked anymore, which is, from my point of view, very good. I like that. We're now at the end of the podcast now, so I better end it now. So I just want to say thank you very much, Ingrid and Lele. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for your views and all that. Thank you for being part of this. I'll start with Ingrid. Where can they find you on the social medias if they want to contact you, or just yell at you for like, no, con crunching is great, I want to talk to you about this?
Just my Instagram is bitten and smitten _cosplay.
Fantastic. And please don't actually send abuse her way. If you're going to send abuse, send it my way. Lele, where can they find you on the social medias?
So, I have an Instagram, which is Lele Cosplay, which is Ley Cosplay. All one word. That's it, really.
That's it, really.
That's it, really.
I think you are on the Twitter, but
I am on the Twitter. I am the Twitter. I am on the Twitter. I do the tweets, but I don't actually really go on there that much. I have it linked to my Instagram. And it kind of repost from there, and I always forget to actually check it. And so I'm more active on the gram. So
On the gram.
on the gram.
On the gram. The cocaine gram. No, sorry. I don't know why I said that. Oh, God, I'm going to cut that bit out. Thank you very much. If you are... No, what do I say? I've now lost my train of thought. Sorry, let me start again. If anyone needs to find me on the social medias, if you go to foodandcosplay.org, you can find me /links. You'll find all my social media links there. If you go to foodandcosplay.org, generally you'll find daily cosplay photos and articles that I write and some cosplay shares. What do I do? If you go to foodandcosplay.org/podcast, you'll find podcasts that I've recorded previously with Lele and Ingrid separately, and with various different guests and different subjects. If you go to patreon.com/foodandcosplay, you can help donate money to this podcast production if you like. If you enjoy this podcast, you can say, oh my God, I want to help this guy out, which I really do appreciate it, because I had to pay off a £400 website bill. So that's I need money for that. I need to do photo shoots and be paid for that, but that's for a different day. And on that note, I think that's usually what I say. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to thank my guests one more time, and they're going to say goodbye, and I'm going to say goodbye. So bye, guys.
Bye.
Right, back to crunch. I'm going to go back to crunching my cons now. No, con crunching. That's it.
Have a chewy con instead.